This podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. Our friends over at SeatGeek are giving us a promo code of TBA Wrestling. That is TBA Wrestling for $20 off your first purchase. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to Gunners Rust Podcast, where we are positively Arsenal, and that we are. And I have to start by saying I'm so sorry for not being here on a usual Wednesday. I think we've missed one Wednesday ever until now. This is the second Wednesday. It was for good reason, I must admit, but I'm getting you back here on the Friday, which, to be honest, Monday, Friday would probably be a better schedule than Monday, Wednesday, because it's so soon after each other. So I might have to have a little think about that, but I do love our Wednesday slot, I must admit. And obviously on our Patreon, they're going up regularly. So check out our Patreon, £6 a month if you go through the link below. Here on iTunes and Spotify, please give us a 5-star review. If you're listening to this, please give us a 5-star review because it really helps the algorithm and get us in the old pantheon of Arsenal pods. Because if you search Gunners, I think we're second now, which is cool. Because Gunners is a very large kind of... it's the main nickname, I'd say, for Arsenal. And if you look up Arsenal podcasts, I don't know, we're like 90th or something. But we don't have Arsenal in the title, where a lot of podcasts you make sure you have Arsenal in the title, etc. So, yeah, that will help all that kind of stuff. And it means more people will listen to it. More ears on here, more people on the Patreon, more podcast episodes for you guys. And giving out 4 more graded Arsenal cards on the raffle over on the Patreon. So please check all that out. But I do want to say sorry because I did miss the episode. Friends from America, you'll probably know him, WWE's Elton Prince and his illustrious fiancée came over and stayed with us for a few days. And it just felt a bit wrong. We actually wanted to do a podcast together, but we kind of thought, you know, you got children, you got all these things going on. There's a lot happening, and it just felt wrong to disappear for an hour or so and pop a podcast in and talk about Arsenal's. But we did find time to watch the preseason game on YouTube because babies do go to sleep eventually, and it was about the right time. So we did watch that, so we can get into that. But yeah, I do want to apologise, but hey, here we are. You're getting the episode now, and we're going to talk about all sorts of things because we did play on Wednesday against Como. I think there was quite a bit to write home about. I think there's a lot of Lewis Skelley convo we need to have. Because this one's worrying me a little bit. And then last night there was a bit more breaking news, and I'm not talking honesty, I'm not talking hand of Arsenal, but transfer speculation around a certain centre forward becoming an Arsenal player. Plus Martinelli, there's still talk of Martinelli leaving, Jesus leaving, Nelson for $3 million to West Ham potentially. There's some outgoings, and we've got to start moving. It is the 14th of August now. What is that? That's 16 days-ish until the end of the transfer window. We're playing in the Community Shield just in a couple of days here. Which we'll also talk about today. And it's... what are we? As of this, we're 7 days away from the start of the Premier League. And I must admit, the feeling I had the other day, which was kind of, how do we change this team to make it more exciting as far as in pre-season? You know, sometimes you have a good 11 together, and you think, it's not working after 30 minutes. And you think, what could we change? You know, and you do that when you watch any Premier League game, etc. You get a half-time, you think, oh, all right, look at the bench. Who could change the game? And the other day, I must admit, with all our depth, and I know there's a lot missing, against Dortmund, I thought, how do we change this game? And I kind of didn't know because I was like, all the best players are on. And that worried me. I had that slight feeling of worry. But then the Como game happened, and a couple more people have, you know, Odegaard start. Did he start? He come on. I think he came on this particular one. But he's back in the fold. But then Eze, Madueke, you know, Raya was in goal. There was all these things starting to happen. I thought, oh, okay, here we are. You know, this is starting to look a bit like what we'd expect and the opportunities to change. And I think as well, it doesn't help sometimes when you've got Havertz playing in midfield. So you've got kind of the striker option is on the bench. He's on the field with Gyökeres. And you're thinking, how do we change this? And I know this game, I think Jesus started. But you just get that feeling, and I don't know. And I think we're definitely shaping up to see the team that we are going to play in 7 days. I think we can kind of see the outline of what it will be, and even the changes he made to the starting lineup, as far as Gyökeres not starting and Solis not starting. I think these are guys almost surefire for the Community Shield. So we'll get to all that. We'll work. I think we'll start there, actually. I think we'll start the preseason game. I think it was a good game. I think it wasn't overshadowed, but similar to, you know, we bought Bruno Guimaraes, but we fail on Vinicius. I feel like this has been an ongoing, I don't know, theme of our transfer window maybe, is like every time something good happens, not something bad, but something that maybe puts a little, I don't know, a little thing on there. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's like going on the best holiday you've ever gone on for 14 days, but midway you got food poisoning, you're out for a day. And no matter how much you loved the rest of the holiday, you always go, didn't I get food poisoning on that one? And I feel like that's our transfer window. I feel like we're having a great time, but it's being, our expectations are getting pushed so high that signings that before would have been transformative or what we would have seen as like unbelievable are becoming a little bit overshadowed by not getting other targets. And I think mainly I'm talking the Vinicius target. But and I feel like this is, I think this has been a theme. So this game was good. I thought we looked good. I think there was good moments. I thought we played much better football. We had them on the back foot, and we looked more in control, which has been the thing that I think the watermark of Arteta has been control. And I think this preseason particularly, and maybe we're forgetting other preseasons where it was a little bit loose and then the season started and we were fine and you just forget about it, because preseason's forgettable. Maybe because we're so deep in it. It was post-winning the league. Maybe we're looking at this and going, oof, very leaky, not much control. We're kind of open. Obviously, not to mention, it's a weird preseason. It's post-World Cup. Not a lot of players back. They're coming back in drips and droves. It's hard to review it and give an honest opinion. So what we can do is take little pieces and little positives, because that's what we do here on Gunners Are Us. And the positives I took from that game were obviously Lewis Skelley playing back-to-back-to-back games here in the preseason. Solis, showing something. I think he's a player that has... I don't think we all, flattered to deceive is harsh. I don't think we all felt it was not a great signing. I think we thought it was one of two. But I think as this preseason's gone, and I've said this on the podcast a while, he gives me a bit of Kvaratskhelia about him, and I know it's his preseason. It could be, he could go the first 15 games of the Premier League starting every game and not scoring or assisting. But he gives me that feeling of he's dangerous. He's a good player. He gets back. I really like him. I'm not opposed to there not being a massive left winger signing. And I know a lot of Arsenal fans will roll their eyes at that and all this. But I think we are kind of caught up in what our brains have always been. When we'd say, it's almost like a new signing when that guy comes back from injury. We've been led to believe these are good things. And keep the powder dry, this is a good thing. But for once in our fandom in the last 22 years, it makes sense to keep the powder dry. It makes sense that certain things are new signings. Because, Timber missed the run-in. Zubimendi didn't have the legs at the end of the run-in. Havertz missed half a season. Moreno missed half the season. Saka missed half the season. Odegaard missed half a season. There was so many bad periods as far as injuries. Calafiori missed half the season. The fact that Havertz wasn't available with Odegaard in behind, and we were kind of having to go with Gyökeres and Eze, brand new signings, we won the league. So, yeah, if we get a fit Havertz for a whole season, we're going to be better. If we have Odegaard fit and ready all season, we're going to be better. So these are like new signings, because when you're on top, they do improve you. If we came fourth last year and we kept our powder dry and we were going, but Odegaard and Havertz are fit now, I get that. And that's the PTSD I think we have as Arsenal fans. So when people say that now, I think we're all going, oh, no, we can't think like that. And it's like, well, I think we actually can for once. I think we can stand still. We can let everyone else do stuff. Because if they're not there, they're not there. And, already we've improved the goalkeeper area. We've improved the midfield, one in, one out situation. Hincapié was an unbelievable price and an unbelievable signing generally. He was unbelievable last year and we all loved him. They're looking at, it looks like Konza, it looks like about 40 million. They really would like to get him over the line. There's no way, we can all talk about 40 million. Oh, we don't want to spend 60 million there. That kind of stuff. But if you look at it as a whole, you look at Liverpool last year, it's Isaac and Etitike and Wirtz. Collectively, it's 300 million for all three of those players. But with 300 million, you can also completely reshape your squad, which they did not do, and that's why they've got no squad. If we had the money for 130, 140 million for Vinicius, I don't mind buying a player for a 90 to 100 million on the left, like a Yildiz or someone. I don't think he will come, because I think Juventus have got him, tied down. And then a Konza. Because we're all caught up in but I don't want us to spend money there. I get that, but it's not our money. And if as long as we're not going to get fined or something for it, He's an international Premier League experience. He's not at the level of a Van Dijk or a Saliba or a Gabriel, but he's not also a player from a different league that we need to acclimatise. He's not a youth player. He's not someone who, like a Lacroix, like a Lacroix, from Crystal Palace, who's gone to Chelsea. He looks like he could be good, but we need a couple more seasons to understand if he is. Konsa, we know he is. He could play also right back where we got injury in Timber. Ben White is not someone who we can guarantee his fitness. I think it's a great signing. He can also fill in for Saliba at right centre back. He can be a right back if those guys get injured. It also means in a year's time, or even January, if we realise, oh yeah, we're not getting the injuries we thought we were, you can move on another one of the defenders. And we do actually, we've talked about before, our profit and our money is probably sat with all our defenders. So we might as well move on, because if he signs a 3-year deal, let's say for 40 to 60 million, it's a player you want to use, and he can be used in that right back. So it makes a lot of sense, and there's no way anyone can look at that and go, yeah, it hasn't improved us. If we just add Konza to that the defensive unit, we could talk about whether we need it, how many defenders do we have, the money, wage bill. You can talk about that, but remove all of that. All we got to do as fans is say, does that improve us for next year? 100%. 100%. Do I also want attackers? Yeah. But I also don't understand where the attackers go, because I genuinely look and you look at the market and you see, we're talking about Neto at Chelsea. I think that's a downgrade on Martinelli. And I think Martinelli's not given the flowers he deserves. Is he a frustrating player at times? Yes. But has he also had no left-hand side? Yeah. And whoever we bring in is going to deal with that lack of left-hand side. And I think you need an out-and-out winger like that who can pair with a Soles, like Trossard and Martinelli did for so long. And so if we bring someone in, I don't want that necessarily to be a Rodgers or a Yildiz or a Musiala. I think all those players will improve us. But that left wing unit, for example, I think you need one of each. You've got Saka, the very intelligent, world-class player, and you've got Madueke, who's an out-and-out winger who wants to take his man on the outside and get the ball across. Whether he does it well or not, that's another podcast for another day. But I like that kind of balance. So for me, if we're going to remove Martinelli for 40 million to Galatasaray and then go and replace him with a number 10 who's going to have to play left wing, I don't want to do that. I really don't. I don't think it makes any sense. So you just got to look at, are we improving? That's all we got to worry about. And the one that shocked me, and he scored in this game against Como, was Lewis Skelley. And this is what I mean by overshadowing, because we look good. We played the ball around well. Lewis Skelley scores. And there's been a bit of speculation. I've tried not to jump on it because I was away at the weekend. I don't think I kind of was deep in transfer lure. The speculation, his celebration scared me. I think we all agree. I think we all got a bit worried. It wasn't let's pound the chest, I'm staying, I'm not leaving, Leonardo DiCaprio, Wolf of Wall Street. It wasn't one of them to say, a message to the board, a message to other teams. Yeah, you can try, but I'm not going anywhere. It was like an apology. It was a farewell, it felt like. The old clap above the head, 360, heart, And there is another footage, like we haven't seen this footage, but from the crowd there's a footage that once he does all that and everyone kind of celebrates with him, he taps the chest and nods his head. So that wasn't on TV, so it did make it worse because we didn't see that until now. But it did feel like maybe he's being outed, and I think The Athletic have done a little piece on there. And it kind of feels like Arsenal have kind of said to everyone, at the right price, we would. But Lewis Skelley doesn't want to move. So it's almost like the pure profit thing he joked about at the end of last season. And I don't think he's a scapegoat. But when you look at that squad of maybe 27, 28 players, and you removing maybe Jesus and Nelson and Vieira, these guys, let's say they're 24 squad that's going to play next year. If you had to line them up of players that I think we should keep, all the way to the players that I think you could sell, and I'm going to factor in quality, contract length, age, maybe even how much money you could potentially get. Because I see that some of the huge allure in Marzo Skelley is the pure profit. It is the fact that he's young. It's the fact that you probably could command 60 to 80 million and it should be paid. There's not many other areas on that field that we can command that price and it doesn't instantly weaken the starting 11, because we don't think, in our best day, we assume our 11 would be in the middle, Rice, Odegaard and Bruno Guimaraes. And I get that. He knows that. But he also played himself into contention to a point where he played in the Champions League final. That's how good he is. And he knows he's that good, and he's confident. And Bruno Guimaraes is 28, soon to be 29. And in maybe a year and a half, 2 years, this will be Lewis Skelley's midfield. When Rice has moved on and Bruno Guimaraes has moved on or whatever is going on then. So for me, when I look at, the pros of that, of the money and the age and everything like that, the cons are he's unbelievable. He's going to be unbelievable somewhere else. I do not want missed out. He's hail end. It's his team in 2 years' time, I would say. The idea that we're going to go looking for a midfielder and buy a £120 million player to be maybe as good as Lewis Skelley in 2 years' time is so annoying. And that's why, to me, as long as the player's happy, if he's saying, like, I want out, I want minutes, and I don't want a loan, I want to go, then go. If he doesn't want to be here and he doesn't think he's good enough, and this has been a thing in our transfer with Sesko and some other players, is they pretty much didn't want to compete for their position. They wanted to be guaranteed the position. He doesn't. We know he turned down other offers last year. In January, he turned down offers, and he played himself into contention. The other side of the coin, again, is did he play himself into the market? Because in January, there was teams like West Ham and that coming in. Now it's Chelsea and Man United. The price then was about 30 to 40 million. Now it's 60 to 80 million. Did it also do its job? Is it maybe, when you think of cashing out and betting, bet responsibly. There's a right time to do it. It's a gamble because it could turn out, 3 years' time, you're going, oh my God, we made such a mistake. And we don't make many mistakes because I think we do the opposite. I think we wait too long. So we very rarely have to make mistakes. There's teams like Chelsea, De Bruyne and Salah that go through there and end up being legends at other clubs. They do the turnover thing quite well because they make money back. But they also, there's a couple in there where they go, yeah, they got away from us, but we still won a Champions League in that time and a Premier League. But yeah, it would have been nice if those two players had played there, but it didn't work out. And also sometimes it's timing, it's environment. He could go to, the only problem is he can go to United or Chelsea and he might also not start. And I don't get that part. And it would really hurt if he went to the Premier League. So yeah, if I was to list those players, if one was definitely do not sell, and that's maybe a Saka or a Rice or a Saliba, even with the pros of money with all of those guys, and Saka particularly with pure profit as well, which is a madness. I would have Lewis Skelley in the top 6 or 7. He's one, if Zubimendi went, I'd be like, oh, we shouldn't do that. That's what depth is. But I would understand it. Lewis Skelley, even Waneri, I would think I would understand. Lewis Skelley has proved it. We've given Waneri times to prove it. He hasn't necessarily always grasped it. Lewis Skelley always grasped it. He put him at left back. He played in semi-finals of the Champions League and played all season where he was unbelievable. They put him in his real position. He got us over the line in the Premier League. And I genuinely believe he got us over the line. He then played in the Champions League final. This is a world-class football player. I really don't want that to go. And I think once that celebration happened, I think we were all kind of thinking about it a lot more. And it kind of hurt a little bit more. And it's one of those. And then we got to see Bruno Guimaraes and Odegaard in the same midfield. And you start thinking, oh, this is exciting. But then you kind of cast your mind back and think, but is this why Lewis Skelley has to move on? And you're thinking, a 28-year-old, a 27-year-old, yes, they're in their prime. Yes, I have even been on this podcast saying we need to grab the ball by the horns and forget about 3 years' time. Let's worry about these 3 years because we're on top. Now let's crush everyone. Let's make history, do a good 3 years, and then we have to see where we are in 3 years. Because I think what we've done in the past is, you don't buy Bruno Guimaraes, you promote Lewis Skelley. He might struggle a little bit when he does a whole season. We come second. Then the following year we go, we need to bring in a player. Maybe it's a Bruno Guimaraes, but it's too much money. It's a year too late. Then it disrupts something else. Then this guy leaves. There's so many dominoes, and I think they really are going, well, yeah, it'd be really nice to have Lewis Skelley in 2 years, but we can't guarantee it. We need some money. Let's bring him in. Because the horrible part is, I think the one in, one out is Lewis Skelley gets sold. I think Konza gets bought with the same money, basically. And that's, even though that improves us in one area of the field, I think that is a detriment to the other parts. And I think that part of the midfield, because when you think of who can play a 6, who can play a 6 in this current team? Bruno Guimaraes, Rice, Lewis Skelley. Zubimendi? And I'd say that's it. Who could play deep lying left 8? The same 4 players. Who could play if we were playing with almost 2 10s? Moreno, Odegaard, Eze, Waneri, Dauman, Havertz. I think the Havertz experiment's gone for me. I don't think do that. Stop doing that. So you got 5. So you got 5 in the top 2 10 areas, and then in the 6/low 8, you got the Lewis Skelley, Zubimendi, Rice, Bruno Guimaraes. It's 4. So 4 and 5. And then, so if you think about it, if you got rid of Waneri on loan, let's say, or even if Dowman was, did you say, no, he's just a right winger, you've got 4 and 4. That makes sense. Removing Lewis Skelley and Norgard from this season and adding Bruno Guimaraes, but then removing Waneri like we did last year, we're one player short in that midfield, in a midfield that we were constantly short in. And this is a midfield that was supposed to be there to protect Declan Rice this season. And I think, if anything, we're going to up his workload. Because someone who can play when he doesn't play is Lewis Skelley. Because Bruno Guimaraes is probably going to play with Rice. And he proved last year that when the going got tough, he trusted Lewis Skelley more than Zubimendi. So for me, Zubimendi is a player that you could sell for 70 million, make a profit on him, and go. And I love Zubimendi. I think, again, I'd rather not do either of these things, because the point is to build that core around Declan Rice so he isn't hurt. Having less players doesn't make sense. It does not make sense to the theory. So I don't think he'll move on. If he does, we're going to have to replace him. What are we doing? Do you know what I mean? Who out there is better than him? And you look over at City, and this doesn't make any sense. Bawali 100+ million, Elliot Anderson 100+ million. It looks like they're about to get Enzo Fernandez potentially for 120 million. And they know they're reshaping because they're selling Rodri for potentially 40 million to Barcelona. And Reinders is going for, 50 odd million to Saudi Arabia. Which, this is what City. How do you compete with this? Because Martinelli, and I don't think necessarily the player wants to go to Saudi Arabia, but someone like that, or Jesus, how's there not 150 million out of those two players to Saudi Arabia? Because every other club seems to do it. But they're doing that, and then they're replacing him with those. They've re-signed Foden, Semenyo, and Doku to long-term deals. I get it, but those 3 midfielders they're bringing in for, 360 million in one summer? That is what they're doing. And so when you look around, you remove Lewis Skelley, let's say, and you go, but we still need more cover. We got rid of Norgard. Who do we buy? Well, 3 of the best midfielders in the world have all just gone for 110 to 120 million to Chelsea, to City. All right. Should we see if Man United will do a swap with Mainu to get a slightly worse Lewis Skelley? There's no one out there that you think, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. We'll get rid of him and spend that money on someone else. There's not this world-class midfielder that would completely revolutionise our team. Bruno Guimaraes was that. We've added him to the core. Keep that core. Because if you even... And I know I've not talked about the game much here, but if you talk about the left-hand side, this is what I mean by the Martinelli thing, is there's very few players that I think improve us beyond Martinelli. Because if you can get 40 to 60 million, let's say, it ends up at, let's say, 55 for Galatasaray, who can replace him for similar money who's that quality? There's no one. I don't think anyone comes in for that price who is better than Martinelli. Maybe you could spend another 20 million, you go get Nico Williams. Is he better than Martinelli? Really? When we stop talking about, fads or like who's the fun player and a name that we all know and it's like it's a sexy kind of appeal, I don't think deep down he's as good as Martinelli. I think they're the same. And he also has to acclimatise to the league, acclimatise to a new country. We've got to go through all that. There's all these like hidden charges, Unless someone, you go, oh, like Vinicius was. Unless you go that and go, yeah, that improves. As Rodgers was, as much as I would rather an actual winger, he's a player that we know. We've seen him do it in the Premier League. He improves us. Vinicius improves us. I think Barcola improves us because he's that level that you'll eat the charges of he's coming to the UK, he has to learn a new country, a new language potentially, a new system, bed in. But he's very good. Do I want to spend 140 million? Absolutely not. He's a 90 million pound player. But if we were to rank, or maybe, S tier being Vinicius, I'd say A is, Rodgers, Barcola, like Kvaratskhelia, I think is S tier, but I don't think that's a possibility. Yildiz, maybe. I think B tier is Nico Williams. It's, I think I saw today Grealish was talked about. I think A-list also, by the way, I think Krupi. I do really think that. There's a few players in Jai's B-list, and I don't get. And I think Martinelli, if I were to make that list, he's in the A bit. So none of those Bs will improve us. They might improve us as far as depth. It does Jai improve the team if we remove no one and add him 100%. Because just as Jesus did last season when we lost all our forwards for like 3 weeks, he played that patch and never played again until the last 10 of the season. But him being there and being that quality and the experience he was unbelievable. But you can't really afford to have a player on those kind of wages just sit there and wait for a 3 week period to kind of not save your season, but maintain your season at a really difficult point. It's really helpful. Every team would want that, but you can't because the wages are too high. And players don't usually want to sit there and wait for that 3 week period where they have to kind of save you and then sit back again and let everyone else come back in. So I just don't, like I said earlier, add Njai, add Musiala, sell no one. Are we improved? 100%. But it doesn't work fully like that. The Konza one does work like that, I think. And I think we just got to forget about the money involved and just accept that it improves us. And in 6 months, it's staggered. Maybe we sell someone and we've got the same amount of players, but maybe it's a better crew. I trust that process. The Lewis Skelley one, I do not trust the process. And again, no one of any note has actually said this is 100% look like he's leaving. But I also don't like the idea of Arsenal not respecting enough to be like, yeah, is anyone interested? Because why? Who do you bring in? Alex Scott of Bournemouth to replace him? Similar age. I'd say Lewis Skelly's better. I don't really get it especially when this guy's an Arsenal fan, been through the system, gets it. Unbelievable mentality. And proven it. Alex Scott could come in and just get real quiet in the Champions League because he's not done it. So I that one, it really worries me. And I hate, and again, this is why in a summer where we've improved our goalie, our midfield, our defence, I'm now in like that bitter taste, the food poisoning's hit, because I'm worried about that. I don't even like the idea of losing Martinelli for someone who's just, similar quality. It just feels like we're moving around pieces to not gain. All kind of to the optics of keeping everyone happy that here's a new player. And I do agree that when we look at our attacking unit, I go, it's Madueke, it's Saka, it's Martinelli, it's Soles, it's Gyökeres and Havertz. Get rid of Jesus. And I go, it's okay. It doesn't look like crazy on paper, even though it does, because I feel like one player, like for example, Solis could be the new Skelley. I really don't know. And within 2 months, we're going him, Saka, and Havertz. That's like best 3 in the world. But for whatever reason, so right now, those 6 don't sit right. And I know we do have Jesus. And I know we do have Dauman. And Dauman is someone I do believe this season there's a chance he tries to get enough minutes out of him to understand, he could take over from Madueke and we can move Madueke on. We do not have to replace. Because that's the dream. You want to be able to sell Madueke next year 50, 60 million somewhere and not have to go, here's 80 million on another right winger. We can go, no, Dauman's there. What would be perfect is we do keep the powder dry. Solis turns out to be unbelievable. The left-hand side unlocks Martinelli again and we go, yeah, we're good. And then you're not worrying about those things and you can kind of focus on maybe a centre forward because, there's only an amount of time that Havertz will stay, I assume, and Odegaard and even Gyökeres. Maybe there's a better player out there because today it is rumoured that Victor Osimhen is in conversations with Arsenal about a potential move. What interests me about that one is the Martinelli of it all because that is the exact team that Martinelli is being linked with. And I wonder if there's some kind of connection to that move, like as in like do they go either way basically? Money wise, I can't imagine there is. Osimhen does feel like the type of player that is more expensive than Martinelli, but I don't know where his deal's at. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's an out and out goal scorer. But that also worries me that Havertz is becoming a 10 when Aries moving on and we still need a left winger if Martinelli goes. So then we have to go get a left winger. We've also then lost a youth prospect in Waneri. And you just think, he's a very good centre forward, but I feel like we haven't got better because of the knock-on effect. If that doesn't, if Osimhen comes in and he's added to that group and, if Martinelli then goes for another player, you can understand it. But the knock-on means someone like Waneri goes and Havertz plays in a position that we're not all agreeing that he's very good in, or the best version of him, in my opinion. I just saw a news report. It says it is officially 86 years since Arsenal won. 86. It's officially been 86 since. I think days, I assume, won the English Premier League. And in 20 years, after 22 years, and not a single team or 19 of the Premier League teams are congratulated. This is the first time in history that they haven't been congratulated. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? I don't know why. I don't honestly understand any of that stuff. But hey, here we are. But I'm just looking up if there is any Osman conversation with the Martinelli. Sky Sports are doing a bit at a minute. Would Osman start for Gyökeres? They're saying how good he is. It seems like Sky Sports are really going hard. Sky Sports Premier League just said Osman, speaking of his dream of moving into the Premier League in 2023, saying, "I'm working so hard to make sure I can one day play in the Premier League because that is my dream." 70 million is what they would want, and they were interested in Gabriel Martinelli. Maybe there isn't much of a difference. Maybe there isn't. Something that I would be not opposed to is if Martinelli and him switch. Is when Eri goes on loan, if there's any kind of, if they feel like there's a 20 million discrepancy, put him on loan, get him another year of loan, and then use him next year when Odegaard moves on. Because I do think he's world class. Transfer News Live said Arsenal are pushing hard to sign Osman, who is top priority for Arteta. The Gunners are confident they can complete a deal for the striker before the transfer window shuts. Galatasaray have a set firm price, but they want to recover at least their 70 million investment. I do think he is a very good player, a very good centre forward, but I don't see, if he's replacing Jesus in that squad again, like what I was saying about, that's a massive upgrade. If Bruno Guimaraes is to replace Norgard, like a guy for like 7 million with a 70 million, the discrepancy is massive, but it's clearly improvement. If he's to replace not Gyökeres or Havertz or Martinelli, he is to replace Jesus. Again, it's mad because we are massively improving. I just worry about the knock-on effect because we could do that. Jesus could move to Napoli and we buy Osman and we go, yeah, 1 in, 1 out. And we are massively improving all across the pitch. Then Martinelli goes and we bring in Barcola and we go, oh my God, we are improved. Then, last 2 days in the Premier League, the transfer window, Nelson 3 million to West Ham, which is being talked about. Brilliant. Vieira goes out for 11 million agreed with Hertha Berlin or someone. Yeah, agreed. And we go, brilliant. Winery sold 60 million to anywhere, somewhere, Leeds, I don't know. And then it says Lewis Skelley to Man United, 50 million. And we're sitting here going, I don't know if I do like this, because that's a huge turnover for champions, because all of a sudden you go, yeah, we have improved in areas, but both our left wingers are gone at that point. One of our mainstay centre forwards is gone. 2 of our academy prospects that we're hoping to improve in the next few years and take over from a lot of our players, gone. You start to go, oh, locker room leader in Norgard, gone. So there's so many pros and cons, and I don't know where it's going, but I like the 1 in, 1 out approach, especially if it goes the way we'd like it to go. But I just think the knock on it, eventually we're going to go, I do not like this. Back to the preseason. The Como game, to finish off with our last little kind of talking points. Como did get the goal. It was a nice goal. Smashed it in that near post. But it goes to penalties. And Raya was really good, actually, on the penalties, which is not his strong point. I'll say that. He saved 1 penalty. We won it 5-4. Good little kind of outing. We didn't win the game. I know we won on penalties, but we also won on penalties against Dortmund 3-2. But we lost the game. We won the penalties, but lost 3-2 in the game. So we didn't win either of those games at the Emirates, and we didn't win in Dublin. So there's a little worry in there, I would say. But as for the game, I think the starters, it was Kepa, Hincapi, Salmon. I think it was Julian, Gabriel, Lewis Skelley, Eza, Winery. And then we had Martinelli, Dalman and Jesus up front. We did get eyes on a lot more. Like Bruno Guimaraes did come on. He did look good. I don't think it was one of the flashiest ones I've ever seen, but there was a lot of people very excited about it. And I thought he was good. But I also want to see him in a competitive game, fully fit, with Declan Rice, with Odegaard, with, Saka on the sides. And, by the time he gets on the field there, it's a different type of game. There's different players. We've seen a lot of Fabio Vieira. And Arteta actually said he's a starter for me. And that I find odd. And again, I'm not against some of these loan players. Yeah, I think El Neni went on loan like 2 years running and then played the season, and he's just like a French player, but he did his job. I'm not against him staying, but I don't want that to be to a detriment of like a Waneri. And because I don't think he's as good. Moreno got minutes. Havertz, Calafiori, Solis came on again and looked good. And he's a player I really want to focus on him a little bit more, because he's played 5 games, 5 goals and assists. This one he obviously was protected a little bit. He scored the winning penalty. Really took it nicely. He said there was a story that he told Havertz, who asked him where he's going to put it. He said, I'm going to put it in hard. And he did. But I really like it. Maybe I'm getting swept up in pre-season. That's a really smart signing. And the stats will tell you it's correct. The guy who found him is the same guy who did find Skelley. There's not many holes in his game. He looks good. He's a good, he's a danger. He's creating goals. He scored a goal. There's so many times where he's getting back and doubling up in defensive. He's also neat and tidy coming out of that situation, like moving it onto the midfielders and then getting going. He's clearly hungry. He's a player that wants to prove a point, and that's what we want. We don't want players that are sitting there going, yeah, I get to play for Arsenal. He's going, no, I need to be the best player here because I've gone around the houses a bit. I need to have a moment. And he is just a very good football player, in my opinion. And I'm excited to see what he does in the Premier League because, all it takes is a few goals or assists in the first 4 or 5 games and people start talking about it. And then that's what we've needed for so long. Saka is doubled up, tripled up sometimes because we've got no left side a lot of the time. So Trossard gets a lot of goals because he's good enough to take it. But he was also coming to the end of his kind of time by the time he got that. Also, we're adding Bruno Guimaraes, unlocks that left-hand side a bit more. He's going to get the ball a lot more than he would have if he came last year or the year before. If you remember, Xhaka and Martinelli, it was an unbelievable pairing. So I've got really high hopes for him. He's a player that really excites me. I can't wait for this Community Shield on Sunday because I think the team is shaping. I think Raya will start. Now he's here. He did cut his holiday short. I think that would have been the intention to play. I think the defensive partnership will be Gabriel and Mosquera. I think it'll be Ben White and Hincapi as the fullbacks. I think the midfield will be Lewis Skelley, Bruno Guimaraes and Odegaard as the 3. I think you'll have Solis and Dauman either side of Gyökeres. That's my prediction. There's an element that I think maybe Bruno Guimaraes doesn't start and it's Lewis Skelley, Havertz and Odegaard, which I really don't want. And I feel like every pre-season, we play the pre-season as Havertz as the 10. And then we just move on from it within the first 3-4 games once we've lost a couple of points because of it. And I don't know why we keep going back to it. It's a really confusing one because I like the player. I just think he works best as like kind of the guy just beyond the 10. And if that 10 could be more aggressive, like we were looking at Rodgers, I really thought Rodgers kind of going in behind him because Odegaard's not the kind of guy who's going to sprint in behind Havertz and nor Eze. So that kind of running power would be really cool. And you saw it in this game, actually. Lewis Skelley was doing it a lot. He was getting forward a lot, hence how he got his goal. So, but I think that's the team that's forming. I think there's a chance Havertz starts. I think there's a chance Eze starts. But I think that is the team. Maybe Havertz starts up front. I wouldn't mind that. Because I do love the idea of Havertz for 70 minutes and Gyökeres for 20. And that being an ongoing thing we do all season. I love that. Madueke and Martinelli coming on later for Dauman and Soles. Absolutely fine. But the only problem is, there it is. You all felt it, just as I said it. Madueke, Martinelli, Gyökeres to end the game. We've dealt with that so often this season. It's not a triple threat we want to see. It's not a triple threat that does very well. It got us over the line at times, but that's the improvement that people want. They don't want that to see out games. I think one of the little hidden things in here is I think Madueke is a real problem for us because I don't think it's the left side that needs beefing up. I think Martinelli and Solis is fine. I think it's Saka dropping to Madueke is the problem. Because if we knew it was definitely Dauman and he saw Dauman above Madueke now, I think we'd feel better. But we know Madueke, and even this weekend, there's a chance Madueke starts, even though Dauman's done the whole preseason. So I think the right-hand side is actually more worrying than the left. It's just we're kind of focusing on the left because Saka's on the right. But we don't know what Saka we're getting. I know that I'm not keen on the braids. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't like them. But we don't know what fitness he is. We don't know how much we're going to get. We don't know if he'll ever hit the form he did based on injuries. So we got to be, that right hand side's got to be really looked at. That could be our weakness, especially with the right backs, because they're the guys who get injured a lot. The left hand side, Martinelli tracks back a hell of a lot. He gets to the byline, gets his balls in. Madueke, we can't save the same. Solis, really good. The left back, Hincapi, always available. Calafiori, unbelievable backup. The right hand side, Timber, unbelievable, but having some real problems getting fit. Ben White, unbelievable. Really struggles to stay fit. Saka, right wing, struggles to get fit. I think the right side is a lot more worrying than the left, but we're just not talking about it. And I wonder if that might become a part of the season upcoming. But time will tell. I'm excited. Man City, they've had a decent preseason. They've won most of their games. I still feel the same sentiment as I felt on Monday when I was talking about it. I think the team we put out, we should win. Because no matter what's going on with Rodri, and he said that he'll play with his heart for 12 months if he doesn't get the right price for City. But he's pretty much saying, I'm leaving in 12 months at 100%. I don't want to be here anymore. That usually means it ends in a sale, which means he probably won't play. So we are looking at a team that will... And Enzo Fernandez hasn't happened yet. It's just talked about. Elliot Anderson has only just met up with them. Boadi is not confirmed. So as far as sitting midfielders, it's Kovacic. Reinders is gone. So it's Kovacic. I think that's, dare I say, about it. Calvin Phillips? Maybe. Is he still there or has he gone on loan to Sheffield United? It's an odd one. Semenyo, Doku, Haaland might play. Yeah, but if Haaland doesn't play, it's a very Foden in there as well somewhere. It's not the strongest City team we've ever seen. I think we're definitely at a stronger point than them, even if their preseason looked better. I'd love to get this over the line. I know there's constant conversation. Is this a friendly? Every other country calls this the Super Cup. The German Super Cup, the Spanish Super Cup. Our one's Community Shield, Charity Shield, friendly. It's the exact same. They call it a major on in every other country. It's the best two teams from last year. The winner of the FA Cup versus the winner in the Premier League. And if it isn't that and they're the same, it's the second team in the Premier League. It's much harder to attain this trophy than it is the Carabao Cup. It's much more an honour to win this than it is to win the Europa Cup, in my opinion. Because Europa Cup, especially in the new format, you're playing dross. And you can get pretty much every English side's going to keep winning these European trophies that aren't in the Champions League. Because they have the squads to do it. Because it's not hard. It's not difficult opposition. Whereas, people are like, Community Shield's just a friendly. It's like, but how did you get into it? Oh, you had to win the league or the FA Cup. Two of the hardest things to win in England. The two hardest things to win in England. So I disagree with it. Or I know where the placement of it is a bit odd. If it was maybe 2 games in and then they took a weekend to do it, like some countries do, maybe people talk about it a bit more. But it's a Super Cup. It's a big cup. When Arteta retires, when Saka retires, when Declan Rice retires, as Klopp, Pep, Alex Ferguson, Wayne Rooney, all these players, they count them in their majors. They don't count Emirates Cups. They don't count Audi Cups. They don't do any of that, but they count the Community Shields because it's a cup. So it's not a friendly. It comes in a time where friendlies are happening, and we've been kind of taught that if you lose it, you're like, it's motivation. If you win it, you go, start as you mean to go on. So it's kind of a win-win to be in it. It's exciting to see your team. It'll be at Cardiff, not Wembley, but exciting to see your own team in a competitive game, as much as people don't think it is. Those players want to win it. Because like I said, they count it. Fans online might not count it. The fans that turn up do, because they want to see their team lift a trophy. The players count it, because it's an opportunity to win another trophy for their kind of... And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to just stack trophies in their career. So when they finish, they go, look at my honours. This is an honour. So I expect us to go out for the win. Moreno said we were... By the way, I'd expect them to go for a win against Como. If you're playing, you're trying to win. But it's important. I think it is important. I think it adds to this legacy of this current team. I think it'd also be like a little bit of a warning shot to the rest of the league of, we won the league, we're not settling, here's a Community Shield, we're coming. And also everyone's going to get to watch that game. Then the next game they're going to watch is all of us on Friday night, Premier League next week. I can't believe it's 7 days away. against Coventry. So teams are going to have a good look on us. And if we can win that and then be impressive against Coventry and win that, I think naturally everyone's going to go, we're in for a season then. If we thought we might pip them because they're being lax, I don't think that's going to happen. And we have a great opportunity because I do think it's a weakened City. I do think it's a promoted side. There's no reason we can't go on to win both those games. So for me, it could be a good 7 days here if we can make it. I think our squad could be just enough to get us over the line. I think the City game could be tight. But when they start weakening at 70 minutes and we start going, here's Eze, here's Moreno, here's potentially Bruno Guimaraes, here's Madueke, here's Gyökeres, I don't think they can do that. And I think that could be the difference between the teams. And I think when it gets to 70 minutes and it might be tight, I think that's when we might be able to just get away from them. Even if we've got a little lead or whatever it is, I think we might be able to then go, all right, we'll protect this lead. This is where we are. So that's exciting. I want to see that. I felt that in the Carabao Cup final. I thought we were the better team, and then all of a sudden it just fell apart and we were not the better team. So, and in the season, obviously, we did prove that they do have holes. And this is a team that's not going to have Bernardo Silva, Rodri, or Pep Guardiola at the helm. This is our time. This is 100% our time. So I'm going to try and block out some of the noise on the transfers that I don't like. Try and turn up the sound on the transfers I do like. Get excited for this Community Shield because I'm just so excited to have club football back in a meaningful way. There was a couple of things I wanted to talk about. What was it? It was Osman. It was Lewis Skelley situation. It was transfer market January, which I feel like we've done. The Community Shield coming up and the friendly. I think that is everything. I apologise. It is later in the week. I apologise. It might be. I don't know if it's a bit short. I don't know. I literally have no clue what the time is. But we're back to where we are. If you want more of this, get to the Patreon because we'll just keep churning out content for you to kind of look at different things, blah, blah, blah. And we're getting closer now we've got preview pods are now coming back. We've got, for the new season, we've got the end of the transfer window where I go back over what we thought was going to happen and what did happen. Also looking at the transfer window as a whole, because I think what I'm going to do is S tier to, C tier of sales and buys once it's all said and done and we're actually there. I'm also going to grade our squad for the season once that closes. That'll be a couple games into the season. Maybe save them for some of the international breaks, because I think we're going to have about 3 weeks off almost shortly after the start of the season. But believe it or not, a horrible timing. But if you do like this, check out our Patreon. Click the link. It's about £6 if you go through the link. If you go through the app, it's a bit more on taxes. But if you sign up on the link, I think it's cheaper. You get a chance to win an Arsenal graded sports card. So, when you see those PSA 10s and all that stuff, you get one of them at random. Raffle off all the Patreons every month. They'll win that. And I'll tell you the winner on Patreon. I'll find out your your address, and I'll send it to you. Also, you get constant content here on iTunes and Spotify, Amazon Music, and it's on TBA Wrestling on YouTube. If you need to listen to it via your TV or your phone on YouTube, it's over there. If you just search Gunners Rush, you'll find it. But 5-star reviews will go down a treat for us. That's about it. I'm excited for the Community Shield though. And I'll talk to you on Monday here on Gunners Rush Podcast, where we keep it positive. See you next week. Bye-bye.